to be here, man. Yeah, I have been
Thank you.
enjoying your podcast. When did you start doing this podcast? Maybe like a month ago or so.
Yeah, it was like a month ago only. Um, yeah, it's I don't know how long I will be doing it. I hope for a long time. But as far as it's getting like fun and it's interesting,
Uh huh.
yeah,
When
it's
did you
gonna
start
be
doing this podcast? Maybe
yeah,
like a month
it's
ago
gonna
or so.
yeah, it was like a month ago sorry,
Only.
I just have to remove the sound from the others. Okay, sorry. What's a technical issue here? I think we just jumped the presentation and we start live in the middle of the conversation already. Sorry. So, welcome back to the Rigging Body podcast. And yeah, so we was talking like about my name, and yeah, sorry, it's gonna be fun.
So it's now live or not?
Yeah, we are live. We are live, completely live.
Okay.
Hi, chat. It's in the in the chat. Chat Vernon. Sorry. Um, I don't know how many people is it's awake here in Japan. It's very early, so maybe there is not too many people live.
Uh-huh.
So if you don't mind, we can start by introducing yourself after this bumpy start. Please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, man, so my name is David Corral, and yeah, I have been a rigger pretty much my whole life, I guess, or like since I was like pretty young. I'm originally from Spain, from Barcelona, same that Miguel here, and but we never. We were just like talking about this before. I think that uh, we didn't end up working together because I believe that Mikael was working on exercise and I was more like a
Yeah.
Maya user. And
Yeah. No,
well,
no same
we were
things.
like just joking about it that we were even like hanging out with different people that but we all kind of know each other. It was well, anyway. So and I started like working on some small companies in Spain, Chromosoma, some small studios that like now are gone forever. Um, but then I created like a small studio with some friends called 23 Lunes, which is still running and managed by Board and Jordi. And and then after that, I took a small gig in Iceland, Reykjavik, and I was there for about like a year and a half. And that was like a really awesome experience. Like
I
not
will.
only because the work,
y-
but also just like going, going like to like a different country and work there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That was with Edu. Edu was there already.
yeah, so I was working with like two kind of old timer hardcore 3D artists. I was with Remo Balsays
Oh.
and Edu Martin. So yeah, we had an awesome time together there. And after that, I went back to Barcelona and I started like kind of putting a demo reel together so I could like get like a gig outside. And I ended up getting an offer from Disney Animation, and then is when I moved to California, and I have been here since. So I was working at Disney during Tangle, and I was there for like more or less like a year. And after that, I went to Digital Domain, where like I was there for 9 years. Yeah,
Oh.
like a long time. I
Yeah.
think my
Nice.
plan it was to like you know, when I was in Barcelona, I was like, yeah, you know what, I'm just gonna like go to California maybe for like 3 or 4 years, like a little bit of experience and then come back. And now has been like more than 10 years. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Goes really fast indeed.
I
it's
know, man. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
terrible. Yeah.
And then like so I was at Digital Domain for a long time. I ended up being the head of the rigging department, and I was kind of managing the teams in Los Angeles and Vancouver. And recently I left Digital Domain and I joined Epic Games. So I'm working on kind of special projects in the office in here in San Francisco.
No.
Um, so yeah.
Yeah, that's I mean that's really nice and really good trajectory. I mean it's very yeah, very strong I think. And your I mean I'm having here open your website and I'm checking your projects, and you have been working only on a big blasters like last 10 years was
I mean,
big
like since
blockbuster
I was
after
at
blockbuster.
TV, you
Yeah,
know, it's basically you just work on like a one big movie after another,
yeah,
right? And
yeah.
kind of the
This,
last, I think, like the last 2 years or something, I was like mostly working on Avengers stuff.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, wow, that's that's funny. I work in a Beauty and the Beast, but not this project, the French movie,
Oh, yeah, I
the other one.
remember that one.
The
Yeah,
cheap,
it's kind
well,
of
not the cheap, but it's lower budget, I guess.
like it's different. Let's say
Yeah, it's
different. Yeah.
different, but it was really nice. It was indeed the art direction there was really cool. Also, like
Uh huh.
I didn't watch the Disney
Was
one.
it
Sorry,
makeup or it was like a full CG?
the facial is full CG,
Okay.
but I did make only the little fellas that it looks like a little puppies.
Uh huh.
Yeah, I didn't work. The guys who did the Beast was another studio.
Okay.
Yeah,
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 so I mean that's kind of one of the good things of being on a kind of like a big studio for a long time. It's like you just like you get a lot of titles, right, and in your credits, and yeah. So I guess that's the difference also between like animation and visual effects, because in animation you might work on the same project for like 4 years or five, and then in visual effects it just like it's like way quicker, where like you will just change
well,
the project every 4 months or so.
well, not that long actually, but yeah, it's a little is little longer than 4 months for sure. Like
Well, it depends on
easily
the
a
project,
year.
right? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. It depends on the
because if
project, and we don't are on the full period of the project, like from
uh-huh.
development to final. So we just of course do one part. So, but yeah, lately, yeah, it's easily like 6 months or more just rigging
Yeah,
for one project. Yeah, and
yeah.
yeah, let me jump to your old demo reel because I really like it.
Oh
It's
my
from
god.
yeah, yeah, yeah. This is, I mean, this is a reel from 2004, and I swear I watched this reel like, well, a good bunch of times, like really like wondering, oh wow, how did you did this back in the days? I was not even coding or anything,
Mhm.
and as you know, I was on soft image, so I was, oh, you can do this on Maya, what? And yeah, can you talk a little bit about your beginnings and how do you start in rigging? Because I never know anybody that say, oh, I want to be rigger out of the blue. So I'm
Right.
very curious
So
how you.
yeah. So well, I mean, I was always like doing a lot of bit of 3D here and there, but then I started working in Chromosoma on that small studio, and I remember like we were maybe like around like 15 artists, and it was like, and we were all like generalists, right? It was not like anyone it was specialized on anything. So and I remember I started like um, I was kind of like learning Maya back then, because like the company just switched between 3D Max and Maya, and I remember back then I was also like playing with XSI a little bit. So I started like kind of like doing a little bit of like personal work at home, and I started like rigging this character. So I did the model, the textures, and the rig, and I don't know. I started like enjoying rigging a lot, when like I was doing the stuff. Oh, that's me. Yeah. um, and um, and yeah, I don't know. I start like enjoying more like the technical stuff of things, because I come more from like an artistic background. Let's say I come more for like fine arts. I never went to like I like a technical. I don't have a technical background really, so somehow I end up doing more like more and more technical stuff and more coding, etc. So I don't know. I don't know how I started. I would say that it was maybe with that specific character, and some of the people at work, or like at work, they were like, "Oh, that's really good," and like not a lot of people had like rigging experience back then. So I started putting more and more hours on that, and
Yeah,
and I guess I end up specializing on that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's very. I mean, yeah. Unless for me, it's pretty similar the situation. Yeah,
Uh huh.
but it's really really
So do you
interesting.
come also from an artistic background, or?
Well, I don't know if quotes artistic. I started basically as a generalist, and
Mm-hmm.
then my first like I did start in animation back in Valencia in a studio called Cartoon P, and I was doing like in campaign, was not even 3D. They didn't do 3D back in the days.
Uh-huh.
But I want to work in animation, so I get it whatever I could. And my first then I did some training, like I was teaching only because I couldn't get a job like working
Right.
straight teacher. And yeah, I think it was 2001 when I get a job in Barcelona as an animator, and then I started like really like the career like animator. So
Yeah. Well, I lie, right? I mean, I did not start. My first job it was not in 3D in the 3D department. I started in Chromosoma in this company, painting cartoons, right?
oh
Not
wow.
like I mean, similar to e-campaign, I guess, but it was in CG, right? With
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Same
boom
thing.
animation. So it was like basically
Yeah.
just painting frames of cartoons
Yeah.
for hours and hours.
I
Yeah.
forgot the name of the software that we was using. Was not
I
Toon
think it was
Boom.
like Toon Animation. That's the one
Yeah.
that we used back then.
I don't remember the software, but I remember was running on this. I don't remember the. My memory is so bad. When Steve Jobs was kicked from Apple and started his own company, start the next. Yeah, exactly. The software was running on Next OS.
Uh huh.
That was
Okay.
like very funky. Yeah, but it was digital in campaign. Just so
Yes.
we started almost the same way.
Yeah,
That's
that's
funny.
interesting. Yeah, yeah. And I remember I started in the, so I was in the night shift, right? And I remember it
Oh,
was from like 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. or something like that,
yeah,
you know? And I
I
was like,
heard that.
and painting cartoons the whole night. And I was young and I was like, oh man, I did it, you know? I'm in the industry now.
Yeah,
I was so naive.
yeah,
But
yeah. Same feeling,
but
same
then I
feeling.
like, you
Yeah,
know, obviously my first step it was trying to get out of the night shift and move into
yeah,
like
yeah.
the 3D department. Yeah.
Yeah, when I arrived there, it was not like night shift, but I've been working also in Chromosoma years later, a few, and
Hmm.
I was on the evenings shift that was from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Yes. Yeah.
And we
Right.
didn't have
Yes.
the night shift back then. I think when you was there, Chromosoma was way bigger, much more employees. Uh,
Uh huh.
Later, when I arrived, I don't remember the year, but we did this Asha, the TV series, was in full
Oh
3D.
yeah, yeah. I do remember that.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I was like this, like technically I was the CG soup of the evenings
Uh huh.
shift, something that was well just helping everybody, and yeah, it was nice, and yeah, I ended up in Chromosoma like 2 years and something, and the first
Uh
year
huh.
was that, and the second year I moved to the development department. That is another story. But yeah, I think yeah, maybe we should talk about you, not me. Anyway,
It's all good, man.
yeah, but yeah, it was all good old times. It's a really yeah. Sometimes
Yeah.
I miss the
So
friends
then
there.
it's like,
Yeah,
yeah, then like what happened is like Chromosoma shut down, right? And then
yeah.
like me and this group of friends, we kind of end up like getting a small studio, right? Or like, you know, and we kind of like start like working on our own stuff and like trying to create like like a, you know, a studio, like a commercial
Mm,
house.
yeah.
We did like a bunch of gigs and yeah, it was working okay. Like at the very beginning there was a lot of like free time, so that's when kind of like I start like, you know, kind of like learning new things and trying to, you know, doing a little bit of scripting, etc., right?
Uh,
um,
that was 23 lunes or was
yeah,
before?
21st lunes
Ah,
and yeah, so and they are still running, so that has been a while,
yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah.
That's yeah. If the people don't know 23 lunes, I think it must be 23lunes.com.
Yeah, I think it's
No, oh wow, that's a
TV, I
Chinese.
believe.
Oh, this was like something funky. Dot TV.
I believe so.
Yeah. No. Okay. I should just leave this. Um. Yeah, it's this one. Studio. They have a
Oh,
Dot
okay.
Studio. I didn't know it exists. Yeah, this one. Yeah, the you did recently some because I saw
Oh
this on
yeah, I
your
did
reel.
like
So you
those
still
rigs with
collaborating with
them.
them.
Yeah, I mean they're like good friends. I love those guys, so yeah, I just like help them out with
That's
that, and
that's really nice.
um,
Yeah. Um. Yeah, I know. Vincenzo is also helping.
Vincenzo yeah, I used to work with him, and
Yeah.
yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah. I bring Vincenzo to Chromosoma when we started there.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know Vincenzo at all, but the thing is, back then, I supposedly we was supposed to use soft image for that Asha project,
Uh huh.
and I was uh, waiting to start, so I took a little gig on France in Paris, and when I came back, they both Maya license. So
Okay.
and I say I don't know how to rig in Maya, so I knew Vincenzo for his demo reel.
Uh huh.
So I email him like, look, we need a rigger here because we need someone to say for us basically on on this project. And Vincenzo come and we are friends since then. It was, I mean, I
So
think
was like GR.
no, was before year. That was way
Yeah.
before year, and yeah, we ended up using advanced skeleton, but also
Okay.
but for all the technical tools and everything was Vincenzo who did a lot of development, and other guys did also like some check tools and so on. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember I was fighting with the producer, like, let Vincenzo code tools for the rest instead of force him to animate because they wanted to everybody animates there. And it was like, no, 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 no. It does tools and everybody is gonna be fast and it's gonna be much better.
Uh huh.
And yeah, it ended up working pretty well, I guess. Yeah, and thanks, Vincenzo, if you're listening, you save or us. Like I remember he put like a I don't know the script what he was doing, but he put like a dollar sign on the script because when you use it, you save money. Yeah,
That's pretty funny.
yeah. It was really yeah. It was a very fun experience, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really cool. So that was the your beginnings, and I think
Yeah.
yeah, it's yeah,
So
it's very
then it's like
coincidences. Yeah.
yeah. Then I moved to here to well to I moved to Los Angeles to work at Disney and yeah. So
Yeah, Disney. I have.
that was fun. It was like really it was really cool to like work in such a like a big company. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
and
it
it
was.
was like really interesting for me, like because like before that I was working kind of like in like more or less a small studios with no like without a rigging department, right? I mean, you might have like one rigger or two, right? But it was kind of like my first time kind of like jumping
Mm,
into like a company with like maybe like 10, 15 riggers, right? Plus
yeah,
all the character
yeah,
effects guys. Yeah.
yeah. And this
So
movie, yeah, sorry, yeah, I was saying this movie. It's probably one of the. It was the movie who changed the Disney like shift on terms of 3D movies. No,
I think
was
so. I think like bold, probably still like
yeah, but
the design it looked like really good, but yeah I saw like a high kind of like a very difference of quality, right? Or like a jump of
yeah.
quality where like when they were like doing Meet the Robinsons, I believe, right? And then
Oh
they
yeah,
did Bolt and this one,
Little
yeah, this
Chicken,
Little Chicken
Chicken
too.
Little. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't remember.
Chicken Little. Yeah.
Yeah, that was yeah because Disney was like it had like I don't. Yeah, I think it was like a difficult transition for them to move from 2D to 3D, but they get it.
Uh
I
huh.
mean, now there's like man,
I
they're
mean, now
kicking
they're like
like
so
they're super
good,
strong,
right? I mean,
and
they make like the most appealing
yeah,
characters, right?
yeah. I think Iker is here in the chat also. Hi Iker. See you in 2 weeks, I guess, for Iker. Yeah, he will talk more about Disney. But yeah, it's I mean they're rocking now. Like they're super amazing what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's
So yeah, it was like really interesting for me, to like kind of
mm,
see all these kind of like
yeah,
high quality tools. It was kind of my first I mean, I did like a a typical thing where like you will do an auto rig, kind of one of your first personal project, etc. Right? But when I went to Disney, it was kind of like interesting to see kind of like a build system, etc. Right? And
Yeah.
so yeah.
And work, I guess, with so many riggers and character TDs, like, must be really cool to have all these inputs and feedbacks, and well, probably only the cafeteria conversation. It's way interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, and after that, I went to digital domain, and I was and I don't know how many movies, but yeah, like a bunch.
Yeah.
And yeah, I started working on real steel. I think it was my first project. It was kind of like a lot of robots and the mechanical rigs.
Yeah.
That was pretty fun.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't had experience yet to do too many mechanical rigs, but
Uh huh.
I guess here in Japan, I mean, at some point I will have the chance. The robots, it's all around.
Yeah. And
But
this
it's
one is like I was one of the projects I did before I became the supervisor. It was X-Men, and I did the kind of like the transformation system. It was like a really small team, where like one CG soup, one animator, but he was pretty technical. So then I kind of built this kind of system, very kind of like very similar to Houdini, but inside Maya, and
yeah. Yeah, that is very interesting. I want to ask you, well, like, normally all these kind of effects goes on Houdini, and I know
right.
you know Houdini, so
Yeah,
what?
I did some Houdini stuff. Yeah. Well, the reason that we did it in Maya is because the animation director wanted to have an animator working on the transitions, right, and doing all the timing, etc. So that's why they wanted a tool inside Maya, and yeah.
Okay, so it was more like direction of like animation art direction, like
Yes. Yeah.
request to work on Maya. Oh
Uh
wow.
huh. Yeah. So well, like digital domain is a Maya house. Obviously, we use or did it use Houdini, but it's mostly for effects and some maybe like some crowds, etc. But for character animation, is all in Maya, right? So yeah.
Yeah.
So there was like some interest on doing in Maya. I remember doing like some small tests, and yeah, I mean they like it, so we just like kind of like start developing this kind of system, right? Um, and which it was like, well, you can see like some of the icons are like um, strictly out of Houdini. So basically, I kind of replicate the some of
Mm.
the what the nodes do in Houdini, but for Maya.
So you code like custom nodes to do this.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, it's not like pure Maya nodes. It's like something very custom.
Yes. Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
it's very interesting.
So yeah, so basically it was like a custom data type, and you could like pass the data type, and you could like override point attributes or primitive attributes, etc.
Like similar. I don't know. Did you work with subtools at some?
Well, actually, with Peter Sipkov, yeah, he was my lead
Oh, okay. So
supervisor
yeah.
when I started there, and yeah, so I got a lot of like good ideas. We
Yeah.
just started like I started like some of the first test it was done with soup,
Mhm.
um, and it does pretty much the same thing, right? But the problem it was that it started to get like really slow just because. This was like very specific, right? So just that we wanted to work with points. Maya doesn't have. I mean, you know that you cannot create like point clouds in Maya, right? So yeah, for using soup, I had to create
Mhm.
or point
Yeah.
attributes or like yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So we end up like doing this more like custom approach.
Yeah. We have questions from Iker in the chat.
Yeah,
I don't know if you can read it, but
I cannot. I'm with a small iPad
okay.
here, and
Was the artistic direction for the metamorphosis clear from the beginning? He's asking.
yes, well, clear. Well, it's funny. So the VFX supervisor, what he wanted is to have what they call a potato chip effect. That's what they call it. So
The
it was kind of like he wanted to see this kind of like a peeling effect, right? Where like you will have on one side of the potato chip, you will have the texture of one of the assets, and in the other side you will have the other. So whenever you will do the peeling, that will kind of reveal, the character. So that was kind of the initial idea from the supervisor, from the VFX sub,
Mm.
and we kind of like stick with that idea and try to make it
Mhm.
work.
Yeah, I see. Well, the second question, I think you already replied to it. Do you have chance to explore a little, like to?
Yes. But there was a lot of like kind of like trying to figure out how what was the best way to do it, and we had to like create a lot of different animations for those feathers, um, and trying to figure out the timing, and kind of like on that animation, because like we were like creating instances and we have like different animations, so we had to like like care a little bit about like how when that animation was transitioning from one point to another, how that was working as a whole, right? So yeah, but it was, I mean, I don't know, it was like pretty fun doing something like this, because I was like more like used to do like more like rigging stuff, more like creating bonds, painting weights, and that kind of
Mhm.
stuff, and this was like still a technical challenge, but related with characters, but like completely different than rigging, right?
Yeah, it's more like effects, character effects. Yeah,
Yeah, yes, yeah.
that's that was cool. Yeah, and by the way, I didn't know the Maya doesn't uh cannot create the uh point clouds. I never
Yeah, I
tried it.
mean, in Houdini you have the soap environment, right? Or
uh,
it's and but with Maya, it's like you need to stick with a specific geometry type, like a
yeah,
mesh or like a
yeah,
north. Yeah,
yeah. And
curve.
soft image. Well, we had when we had like with eyes. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was used to do a lot of point clouds effects on the characters to create little effects, not like this, but to deform geometries or create some kind of, I don't know, like breathing effects or something like that.
Uh huh.
It was very easy. Um, but yeah, in Maya, never try it. Actually, never try it.
Yeah. Um,
So yeah,
Yeah, I remember like like I don't know, like back in Houdini 8 or something, I started like playing with it just to get an idea how how the software work, and I will I think it's like a really well designed piece of software, and I will recommend to anyone to kind of like take a look and do some, play a little bit with it, because like just the way that it works and like how you interact with different contexts. In Maya, it's everything under the same context, right? You have this dependency graph and everything is there, right?
yeah.
But in Houdini, you have that split in different kind of contexts. And yeah, if you are a Maya user, I would really recommend to play a little bit with Houdini, because it can give you like, you know, how to like maybe structure your rigs or like in a different way. And like, yeah.
Um, yeah, it's indeed. I think for at least for me, and I guess for many people, the biggest issue is time. I think like there is so much to learn and so little time, and especially
Uh-huh.
when if you're a student, of course, it's your only task to learn stuff. So that's great, and you should take advantage because when you get on the later on the madness of production, it's very
Yes.
little time to study. I mean, you need to put your time aside on your spare time if you want to keep
Mhm.
improving or learning new skills that are
Yeah.
not related directly with your daily task. I mean, you always can improve at work in some
Uh-huh.
aspects of your skills,
Yeah.
but if it's something let's say Houdini. We have Houdini, but it's on for the FX department, not for the rigging. If I want to learn Houdini for anything, I cannot do it at the office. I need to,
Yeah, no, right. I mean, you need to put, and I think like that's something that you really need to do in this career, right? To
yeah.
put a lot of hours at
Oh yeah,
home. I mean,
yeah,
I do enjoy it, so I
yeah.
still love it, and
That's a
so I
problem.
don't mind putting hours at home,
Let's see.
but it sometimes can be a little bit like challenging or like overwhelming, all the stuff that you
Yeah,
need to like learn, right? And
yeah. If you start to dig a hole in any direction, it's you realize that when you dig more, it's way more to dig. So you think you
And
start digging and it's gonna be 10 meters, and you realize no, it's 100. And when you get the
yeah,
100, then
and
it's 1,000. And what? And it's getting deeper and deeper in any
it's
direction.
for me what it's kind of difficult to find a balance between like how much you want to learn or be an expert on a
Yeah,
specific thing, because like
yeah,
unless you really like focus on one single specific thing, it's like there is always like gonna be like
yeah,
someone much better than you, right? So they're like,
yeah,
well, I want to get like some knowledge about like all these different topics, but I don't have the time to like learn every single thing,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And
Yeah, I think this it's related with what we was talking before starting the stream on the
uh-huh.
like the riggers and the how it's tend to some riggers like maybe to go too deep on coding, and in some point they stop doing rigging and
Right,
it's more
right. I
like
mean,
pure
like
developer thing.
yeah, it's like at what point you stop, right? I mean, you can like you know you start like coding, maybe like you start like working on your like create an auto rig, right? And then it's like, well, at some point you probably want to create your own utility nodes.
Hmm.
You can do it in Python, but then you want to do C++, and now you need to learn C++, right?
Yeah,
And it's like, well, now I want to learn how to do deformers, like, and and now you need to learn like linear algebra, and it's like, and it never ends.
yeah, yeah, I know. And
So
for funny thing, it's I did start learning C++, and then I I did some little notes here and there, then don't touch it for a couple of years and I don't remember
yeah,
anything.
yeah, and yeah,
It's
that's
like
kind of like a
you,
topic that kind of interests me. It's like like kind of like personal projects, right? It's like I can like work on, maybe like I have like this personal project and I work on it like kind of full time, not full time because obviously I have a full time job, but like put in like a few hours every day, including weekends, etc. And then after a while I stop working on it, and and, like time passes by and I need to like kind of like take it from where I took I left it, and
yeah,
it's yeah.
yeah, it's yeah, and I know I feel the same, and yeah, I want to tackle too many things, and at the end of it's like just a source of stress.
Yeah. So I was like for like a year or something, I started like working on this kind of like a dependency graph outside Maya, kind of like similar to Fabric Engine, I would say,
Uh-huh.
right? Where like you can like kind of like create your deformers and like um, kind of like deform points outside Maya, and then like send the data back to Maya just to get kind of like um, the deformation working faster in Maya. And so I started working on that, and then like all the like the interface with Qt, and then like dealing with the whole viewport 2.0, and at the end it's like, I mean, what it was like really fun and really challenging. It's like, why am I doing this for? Because at the end it's like, well, Fabric Engine is probably like it's just gonna be a better option. So
Yeah.
um, I don't know.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a pity that they don't still around anymore. What's sad? Like to I
like
have many friends that was a part of Fabric Engine.
huh.
Well, Helge. Helge was one of
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
founders.
I'm working with him now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and also I Phil
Uh huh.
Taylor. Also, it was
And
my neighbor
Paul.
in
Yeah.
Montreal. So
Oh, all right. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And by the way, Vincenzo is here. Hey, Vincenzo, how are you? It's on the chat. He's asking also, what about machine learning?
Yeah. So
It's
or also
Skynet.
for instance,
Yeah.
now I'm like trying to learn some machine learning stuff, and it's like it's like a whole new topic where like you can literally put like so many hours, and it's still gonna be like really difficult to become some of an expert, where like you will have all these researchers that's pretty much what they do, right? So at what point do you wanna like stop? It's like what is gonna what is good enough, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I think yeah, there's a very interesting topic on this. I don't know how far. Yeah, I think for like behaviors and things like that, they're already doing like I see some of the papers and some of the research, and it's quite yeah, quite interesting what they are getting now on terms of behavior on the rigs and automatic
Hmm.
motions and things like that, especially aiming for real time and
Deformations and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, I
Uh-huh.
think that part is gonna be yes, especially machine learning, because you can machine learning, you need a training or like now there's new ways to do it, like self training, and there's get advanced, but
Hmm.
for the moment you need like a big data set of
Well, you still need to create the training set. Yeah. So.
yeah. So I think like for behavioral things it's easier than
Hmm.
like for rigging itself, like just through a character like cartoony character or a monster with 100 tentacles and expect that the machine learning knows how the hell this should be rigged, you know.
Right. Yeah.
That is not
No,
gonna
but
happen
it's
anytime
like
soon.
but you could like for instance like create a kind of like high quality rig with using Siva or something like that, right? And then like bake that deformation into like a real time character or like almost real time, right? And then like maybe like replace some of the characters that you have in a scene. That they are not hero characters, you could just run it with the system, and then they still have the hero character running with Siva, right? With
Mm.
dynamic. So I think like well, this is gonna come, I think, in the next like couple of years or so. So
Oh,
yeah.
interesting. I will pay attention to your website or your feed
Oh
on
yeah.
you on Vimeo to see what's coming on. Yeah. Sorry. I'm just a little with a little cold, so my voice is so. Sorry if getting in the coffee on the coffee on the coffee. How do you say cough on?
Coughing.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, on the mic. Okay. Sorry. Just taking back the yeah, one of the other topics I wanted to talk with you is the
Hmm.
rigging supervisor task, and how was your experience on that? I think this it's a very interesting topic because I don't see any or almost nothing information about the management of the rigging teams on how do you handle, like for instance when you have a few task characters, how do you organize your team to work, how oh
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can be like two. There can be like two types of supervisor, right? You can have like a really like kind of like a management kind of role, or like more like a technical overview, right? I was kind of like I guess a little bit on in the middle. I mean, while it was still like a management position, right, where like you need to manage a team. I I mean, I do enjoy being on the boats, right, a lot. So I try to spend as much time, on the boats and coding or etc. as I could. Um, I mean, I can it's digital domain is the only place I have supervised. So I don't really know how it works in other places. I can like tell you a little bit about my experience of how it was structured there. But basically, we would be like running like I don't know, let's say like five different movies at the same time, and each movie will have or a lead or maybe a supervisor depending on like the size, and then my position will be kind of like overseeing all these productions, just making sure that that they all the tooling was working for every production, trying to not like duplicate efforts between productions, and like having
mm,
like kind of that, and that's a different topic, and maybe we can talk about that
yeah, absolutely.
later. But well, like, but basically, making sure that the leads between different productions, they will communicate between them,
uh,
and
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
um,
I know that I had experience in studios that everybody on the team was doing his own tools,
Oh, so that's kind of something that I want to talk to you about it. It's like
Yeah, it was
I give
terrible.
you, I gotta say that I gotta give you a lot of credit for like for the MGR and kind of like taking
Oh,
over a project of someone else, because
thank you.
that's something that I don't know if it's a rigorous thing or so like or like I don't know if it's just like a human thing or not, but we just always tend to reinvent the wheel, right? And in the case you know in a small like in a company and you have a team and you know you provide or the company has this set of tools and you will always have maybe someone that it will say and maybe like and I'm including myself sometimes you know and they will say like you know what it's like no this is or not good enough it's like I'm just gonna create my own version or like or branch it or like
Mm-hmm.
and it's like it is challenging, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't want to like branch too much of what you have, but you also want to improve to of like you know or like keep some of the legacy stuff, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, for M Gear, was Jeremy who started the development,
right.
and I just took over because when I at first I was using it on Softimage. Well, I was using it from version 0 or from alpha, let's say, and yeah, I when I moved, especially when I moved to Maya, I was checking what is out there. I didn't have like strong interest in do my own at all.
Uh
Uh,
huh.
so I just checked what I checked the advanced advanced skeleton was there that I had a little experience in the past. I checked this rapid read rigging and I was checking others that I sorry I don't remember the names, and they do really well what they do, but it was not what I need. And after having the experience with gear and soft image, I felt like I was missing a lot from the other systems or the way I
Mm-hmm.
work. So that's the reason because thankfully like Jeremy did this alpha for Maya, so he
Right.
just did all the hard work basically. So I just need to just keep working, you know.
Uh huh. Okay.
And then actually right now it's a big Borg like M gear. So um, like for instance, Sergey nodes, math nodes are vendor with MGear. So if we find anything very interesting on GitHub and the compatible, I mean the
Uh huh.
license is compatible, we don't want to do our math
Right.
nodes, so we don't want to
Right.
do it. It's there. Like Chad also put a lot of stuff
On the wrap, I
on the
saw.
GitHub.
Right.
Yeah, we vendor CV wrap, and also the skinning import and export is heavily based on his tutorial on CG Circuit.
Uh huh.
So it's like, I mean, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. If something is there and it's working and I can use it, obviously, if the license is not compatible or it's not open source, of course I cannot. So that's another story. But we just take it and try to keep, I mean, to maintain or to adapt to what we have, not reinvent the wheel at all. I mean, I'm just like no, I don't want to do
So do
something.
you think that is ever gonna be like a rigging standard
Well,
where like we all use the same
I
tool
don't know.
or similar?
I, I I wish, and unless I know it's not never is
Well,
gonna
that's
be
why
like
you're
one
trying, right?
standard.
Or
Yeah, I'm
sort of
trying
right,
to like for instance, one of the things I Jeremy when he did it, it was like a rigging system, and I
right.
tried to brand it as a framework, and I work really and well not myself only because we are a team now, so we are
Right.
working on this framework concept. So we separate all the repos in different repositories, and we try to work on a core, and we try to pull from the core, and then we have, depending of the type of tool we put it in inside of a repo, we create a new repo for the tool. And the idea is that you don't, I mean, every single like every single rigging system has its advantages and disadvantages in terms of approach. Like what Rafael Frapan is doing on Coldor Rig, it's different from what we are doing on MGear on the shifter, that is the rigging system there. And I mean, it's not like you cannot force a standard on this because it's so complex. It's not like Alembic, or I mean, I'm not saying Alembic is not complex, but it's like a format. And
Mm-hmm.
for rigging, there is different ways that people likes to work. It's
Is it just because you think that is maybe because, I mean, like comparing it with other type of departments, right? Other
uh-huh.
departments they just need to like use whatever is available to them, right? So
Mm-hmm.
a modeler they will just use Zebras or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they will
Yeah.
say, uh, where like us, we have the option to kind of like we we don't only rig, we can also create tools, right? So at that
Mm.
point, it's like, oh, I'm just gonna do it my
Uh,
way, right? So
yeah. Yeah, I think so. Like, yeah, obviously everybody has good ideas and bad ideas, and like that's true. I mean, I had some really bad ideas, and it's some that I humbly believe that are good and they're still on the M gear, or
uh-huh.
but yeah, and I did a lot of messes also, like. And the best thing, I think, it's like take advantage of not like, I mean, not take advantage, I think it's a like not the correct, but there is so many brilliant minds that you can partner and
Mm-hmm.
and use what they do instead of reinvent the wheel. That is, I think it's way more smarter. And at the end, I think if you think in standards, that's the best way to get a standard. Is when you get the average or something, the
All
what
right.
is
Well, a
outstanding.
contribute, just a contribution from like different people, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
outstanding like tools from different people that can combine to standardize something better.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's the idea. And we are, I'm sorry, I'm talking about too much on that, but yeah, we get in there some point. Like, for instance, here in Japan, it's getting some kind of momentum,
Mm-hmm.
and some other studios they are start using it in gear, and we have now like for instance, some riggers that are working on the project that from Spain. They already had experience on M gear using in another project, so we don't have to train them.
Right.
So
Okay.
they use other systems, but I mean that's an advantage. Of course, it's not standard at all, but
Mm-hmm.
you get sometimes this.
But yeah, I mean, it's in the process, right? Documentation is always like
Uh,
something that
yeah,
like people will create, a builder or auto rig, and then like there is no like the documentation is always outdated, etc. Right?
yeah,
Um,
yeah. It's funny. Yeah, chat Vernon is just commenting that on the chat. The new like the documentation is little or non-existent, and
yeah.
yeah, that's another thing. And yeah, documentation. How's your documentation? You do.
Um, I document my code pretty well, but I'm not that good creating a Sphinx or like KP docs and that kind of stuff.
Uh,
Um,
yeah, it's time consuming, and you feel like I can do more coding than documenting. I know how it works.
yeah, so I do try to what I do create, for instance, a lot of examples within the code in the, for instance, if I'm coding in Python within the doc string, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, like documenting, no, but also because like I personally I haven't created a tool that is to be consumed by like um like someone outside a company, right?
I see. So you don't feel
Yeah.
like
I mean, if it's for instance when I was like doing tools, a digital domain, or
uh,
etc., I will or create a document specifically for that, or yeah, so like maybe I will create like a small tutorial, for
mm,
the tool, but I will not, yeah. Back then, I would not create like something really like a pretty extend document or
yeah,
documentation for it. Also because it's like it's really hard to like keep the documentation updated. I mean, the code can like change like so quick, right? You can have like multiple contributors
oh yeah,
making changes, and not everyone is gonna change the main documentation, right? So
yeah. That's something we have to improve on the M gear
that
team.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
we 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 try, but it's like it's at the end always.
Yeah, yeah, it's but that happens to everybody unless you are on like a huge company, kind of like
Yeah,
more on a software engineer company where
yeah,
like they will enforce you
yeah,
to have the documents with the within
yeah,
the code
yeah,
review, right? So.
yeah. I think one example like of like it's Marcus Ottosson. You know, it's a he developed the Qt and Publish and other like very famous like tools or repositories on GitHub,
Hmm.
and it does really well documentation. I think
Yeah.
it's a example to follow. It's really well documented. Like wow. Um, yeah. Okay. So I'm just reading the chat. It will. It Sergey.
Sergey there.
Yeah, it's blame the animators. Yeah, of course. I don't have documentation because the animators. That's it.
Uh,
It's better excuse ever.
yeah.
Yeah. I will. And Timothy is asking if it will be productive to write a documentation interface implementation, but then reality it's opposite. Yeah, yeah. Sometimes the production tools, it's like it's don't open, don't check the code, and of course don't try to change it after 2 weeks because you don't remember what the heck you was thinking that day.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's yeah.
Like it's amazing. Like some code you open it, what I was so smart that 2 weeks ago, and I cannot even understand what I did. Yeah, that's unless for me, I don't know. I tend to like empty the buffer after I finish a tool.
Uh huh.
I don't know if you feel the same. Like sometimes I do a tool and I
I
completely forget how I did it. It's like
yes.
the
What I tried, well, I do try to put a lot of like documentation within
oh
the
yeah
in the code or like like self document and so and that's how I remember things. Yeah.
yeah yeah
So.
yeah. I try to do also. I mean, it's not like I don't document the stuff. I'm try to be very strict at least on the code to document every function, every
Uh
method,
huh.
and put comments like
Right.
that will help me later to understand. But still, sometimes it's like I don't know. I'm getting older and just dumber.
Yeah. So I think like one of the questions that you sent me was like about the future of rigging, right? Or
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
what you
yeah,
see there, because like one thing is like creating a standard, but like it's I mean like it will get outdated eventually, right? And there is always like
yeah.
or what we are all hoping is like to this new system that is going to like replace the way that we have been rigging right in the past. And I just feel and like I think that you brought it up a few maybe in like a couple of podcasts away where like it's just I feel rigging hasn't changed that much in the
Yeah, yes,
for many
it's
years, really, right? And
yeah,
I don't think it's because if it's maybe because we are like we care more about like creating like a framework, and something that is like a solid tool than are actually creating all these nice features for the animators.
mm,
Um,
yeah. I think there is a space to grow there, and it's not true that didn't change at all, but it didn't change that drastically than compared to others. Like areas, like for instance, modeling was a before and after ZBrush. As
yes, correct.
we can
Yes.
call it like instead of BC and AC, like before ZBrush and after ZBrush
Yeah.
era, and that was a clear like disruptor on the way that the people model.
Hmm.
And I think for like effects, it's also like really going exponentially the like the tools and the techniques, especially with Houdini, and every year we have new solvers, new ways to do the things, new technology that backs new ways to create effects. Um, but I think in that really maybe because we are like it's the animators what they need to interface. They are the
Well, I
solver.
mean, like, so for instance, I have seen how other softwares, right, like or Primo, or like a Pixar software, etc. They do have all these kind of like a really nice ways to do rigging that we don't have in Maya, and I think that
Oh,
the reason is because just like most of the animators in the industry, they work on Maya now, right? So you just need to like you need to create the rigs in Maya, and unless you create like
yeah.
all this kind of like different workflow with a lot of customization and different manipulators, you are just stuck with what Maya give you, right?
Yes.
um, and I think like Anthobin is trying to do this kind of like a system now in Maya, like this
Yeah.
ephemeral rigging, right, with like
Ye-
dynamic manipulators and stuff.
yeah.
But at the end, it's like, yeah, you're just creating all this like like really custom behavior in
Yes.
Maya, just to you kind of like um,
Yeah. Yeah. If
to
you.
extend what Maya is, right? Where like
Yeah.
and then like you have like DreamWorks or Pixar, where like it's way more procedural, where like you can like reference parts of the rigs, right? Or like you can build stuff on the fly, and that we don't have access in Maya, right? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There is also, well, and the rigging we are talking. I mean, in this, like, it's manipulation, pure manipulation.
yes,
Didn't change.
right.
Like, in terms of deformation, I think there is a lot of advances now. Like, in
Well,
yeah.
like in the formation, you can. I mean, just because the My API, you can extend that, and
Mm,
it's not too bad, right? I
yeah.
mean, it's a slow. I think that Maya could get like much faster
Mm,
deforming geometry, but but you can extend it easily, right? And I just think that the way like the dependency graph has been like designed is like some stuff it gets a little bit like difficult to do, right?
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it depends. And also, like I was talking in another podcast, like it now Maya has these different, like the parallel evaluation and
yeah,
DG
right. Yeah,
and also the animation cache, and every single of these evaluations or like, let's say, caching system, um, they have advantages and disadvantages, and any of the systems right now fits everything. Like, you will find situations where not caching is faster. You will find situations where,
yes, or like the parallel
well, DG,
evaluation. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. It depends of your rig, the needs, and some ways it's like, to do this working on parallel, full parallel, is gonna be way difficult, time consuming. That, okay, I just do it like
in
the,
serial and like yeah, and deal with it. Yeah,
yeah, and go with it, and you're gonna sacrifice some performance, but you're gonna get like maybe the work done way faster, and at the
right.
end of the day, it's what it counts more,
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have,
So
sorry, yeah, sorry, do you want?
no, so I don't really know where the future of rigging is going in the industry right now, just because like seems like everything is just going through
uh,
Maya right now, right?
yeah, maybe we need to wait for the Neuralink from Elon Musk, and everybody will just
So
think strong on his nice
yeah.
acting, and boom, no rigging.
Well, I mean, like maybe Helgi can like give you more details. I don't know how much we can talk about it, but like, well, I mean, right now we're like working on kind of like a new rigging system in Unreal, and yeah,
Yeah, I
so
don't
at
know.
least that is gonna kind of like
Yeah,
you know um,
we'll see.
do
Yeah,
stuff like a little bit different. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I want to have Helge in the future on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think yeah, maybe in a few months, just enough time so maybe he can talk more about what's going on there. Right now, I think
Right.
it's a super secret or
Well,
something
yeah,
like that. I don't know.
I'm not sure how much we can talk about that,
No.
but
Beep beep beep
but
beep
but
beep
there is some
beep.
stuff going on. Yeah, that is gonna be really cool.
I need
So.
to get a beeper. So we have a question from Vincenzo. How much custom node development vs out of the box tools do you usually consider using when a new project begins? Oh, when a
In
project.
well, it depends on in a visual effect company
Didn't
or
specify. I guess
well,
like
it
a
depends
regular, like a.
if it's like a small company or like if it's a freelance job or if it's like or it changes a lot if it's like a big company, right? I mean, if it's a big company or like kind of like digital domain, etc. I don't think like creating custom stuff is not a big deal because like you have a build system for the plugins, etc. Right? You can have like code reviews. You have a deployment system. So you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. So if you need to create hundreds of custom nodes, that's totally okay. If it's like a small studio where like you only have one person or you only have one Visual Studio license and there is only this person like compiling for each specific version of Maya, etc., then I will try to not use that much custom stuff, because it's like one single point of failure for your pipeline. But yeah,
Yeah, I see.
and
Yeah.
obviously for if it's a freelance job, I personally try to keep it to the very minimum, or like only
Yeah.
if it's very necessary.
Yeah, I think it's always yeah, for me like because I use always in gear, and right now it's not like you need to use the custom solvers,
Right.
but I mean almost everything use the custom solvers because it's easier.
Mm-hmm.
So if there is a work where they say I really really don't want to install or to have a dependency of any plugin,
Right.
I I have to reject it because
Yeah.
I don't want to do it with the vanilla. Just
Well, but like, yeah, I mean, if it's like it's different if it's kind of like an open source
yeah,
approach, right? And and now with with GitHub and CMake, I mean, you can kind of automate all that, like the build system, right?
yeah,
So
yeah. But it's still like, and Chad is saying like if you source a lot of work, custom nodes can be a headache. Yeah, it depends. So again, like if it's a big few,
it's a pain
but
in the ass also when like Maya breaks the API versioning,
yeah,
or like the whole like. I mean, one of the reasons that I stopped working on that personal project about the dependency graph, it was because the whole like viewport 2.0, it was like at some point I had to refactor all the drawing and like
it's
the formation scheme, and I just
yeah,
like it was too much
yeah.
work.
It's a
So
big commitment to maintenance also, and
yeah, yeah, exactly, yeah.
it's yeah, we have like a part of custom solvers we are using in production this CV wrap that it's a custom node also, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not. I mean, it's just a couple of MLLs that you need to redistribute, and it's super easy to like handle.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess when you get like bigger scales,
Well, it also
yeah,
depends if you have
yeah,
dependencies to external libraries, right? If you
yeah,
like kind of just use like kind of the Maya API,
yeah.
you are kind of safe. But then it's like if you start like using, I don't know, like math libraries, etc., then it's like also like like multi-platform it can be really tricky
No, yeah,
sometimes. So
yeah. That's another, yeah, that's another story. Yeah,
I mean, are,
multi-platform.
are you guys multi-platform too?
We try, and the latest. The thing is, I used to have like a Hackintosh and an all Linux machine,
Right.
and at the office in the previous company, I was using Linux, so I was like supporting Windows and Linux very like consciously, like using it. And then my Hackintosh was used to compile for OS X. I get rid of my Hackintosh because it was all computers taking space on my little Japanese house,
Uh huh.
and and I don't use Linux at the office anymore. So basically, 2018 we just support Windows, but because
Into the live session right now. But anyway, well, it was a pleasure, man.
yeah, yes, I'm